Unveiling 10 spine-chilling outdoor tales, hidden terrors exposed in the haunted wilderness. Clara Anderson thought she was escaping the everyday grind of bills and broken relationships by taking her 2 children, Lily and Jake, on a weekend camping trip in the nearby woods. Excitement bubbled over as they unpacked, sunlight filtering through the trees, casting their playful shadows across the ground. But tranquility is a fickle friend in the wilderness. Whispers wound through the leaves, spreading an unsettling chill that made Clara's spine tingle. As night crept in, the fading light wrapped the campsite in an uneasy embrace. What had started as laughter now felt like a distant memory. Shivers ran down Clara's back as strange vibrations pulsed beneath her feet, resonating deep within her bones. She could feel the tension lingering in the air, heavy as fog. Just the sound of nature, she told herself, but the smile on her face felt forced, like a bad bit of acting. Lily and Jake glanced nervously at the growing shadows, their innocent excitement morphing into fear. "Look, Mom." Jake pointed towards a gnarled old tree, its bark etched with crude carvings. "What do these mean?" Clara's heart raced. The messages were warnings from a local man who'd vanished just weeks prior. Panic set in, worming its way into her thoughts as she imagined what dangers might lurk in the darkened woods around them. Still, she tried to mask her fear, spinning tales of wildlife and shooting stars, but each word felt hollow and feeble against the mounting dread. Then it happened. Her phone signal fizzled into nothing. Hours spent preparing felt useless now. "No, no, no," Clara murmured, each word a frantic plea, as the connection vanished, breaking her fragile tether to the safe world outside the woods. What do they know? The community's whispered warnings filled her mind, creeping into her thoughts like a cold mist. She shook her head, trying to dispel the paranoia. Just as she turned her eyes to the tree line, she saw a shape darting between the trees, a glimpse of something someone hidden in the thick underbrush. Dread clutched at her stomach. A quick glance at their vehicle showed her hope was dashed, tires slashed, battery dead. Stranded. Panic clawed its way through her as her heart raced. Instinct kicked in as she grabbed Lily and Jake by the hands, urging them away from the campsite. "We need to find a ranger station," she said, her voice shaking. Each step deeper into the thicket felt like a roll of the dice against an unseen predator, lurking just behind the trees, waiting for its moment. "Mom, I'm scared," Lily whispered, her innocent fear twisting Clara's heart. With every unexpected rustle, Clara's grip tightened, the hairs on her neck prickling with unease. Could anyone be trusted? Was the community so wrong about the woods? Her thoughts were interrupted by a flicker of movement just off the trail, something shifting just beyond the trees. Holding her breath, Clara squeezed her children's hands tighter, cold sweat tracing down her spine. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." They pressed on, guided by mere hope, stepping deeper into an encroaching darkness that felt heavy and suffocating. The serene night was a facade, and Clara could feel the forest breathing around them, the woods seemingly alive with something sinister watching from the shadows. As Clara's breath quickened, the whispers grew louder, almost a song of the lost echoing back to her. What horror had she unwittingly invited into their lives? What would the night reveal? As a thin mist began to swirl around their feet, she knew there was no turning back. Now, survival wasn't just a choice, it was a desperate fight against the hidden terrors lurking in the haunted wilderness. The deeper they went, the more Clara felt the oppressive weight of the night pressing in from all sides. The shadows danced around them, twisting into grotesque shapes that made her question what was real and what was merely a manifestation of her racing mind. "Keep moving," she whispered, urging her children along, their faces pale in the dim light of her dying flashlight. "Mom, I think I saw something." Jake's voice trembled, his eyes wide as he turned to look back down the path they had just taken. Clara felt a shiver slice through her. "Just keep walking," she said, though part of her wanted to look. What if something or someone was following them? What if the darkness had teeth? A sudden snap of a twig echoed in the silence, and Clara's heart plummeted. The sound was close, very close. Doubt clawed at her. They shouldn't have come here. The woods weren't just woods, they felt like a trap, ready to close in around them. She tightened her hold on Lily's hand, feeling the small, frail fingers quiver. "What is it?" Clara asked, forcing herself to sound more confident than she felt. She turned to Jake, but before he could answer, the whispering intensified, rising like a cacophony. It felt as if the trees themselves were speaking, their voices a warning to turn back. "Mom!" Lily cried suddenly, pointing wildly at the underbrush. "There's something there." Clara's head shot around, and her pulse thundered in her ears. She glimpsed a figure just beyond the moonlight, a silhouette crouching low to the ground, nearly blending into the darkness. It was there, then gone, a mere flicker of shadow. "Mom, please!" Lily's panicked whisper pierced through Clara's moment of paralysis. "Run!" Clara shouted, scrambling forward with her children. Every instinct screamed to flee, to escape the unseen menace. They stumbled through thick underbrush, branches whipping against Clara's arms like the claws of some wild beast. She felt a tear streak down her cheek, mixing with the perspiration chilling her skin, then everything erupted. A guttural growl resounded from behind them, so low, so primal. Clara froze for a fleeting moment, dread paralyzing her. It sounded too close. Her lungs burned as she urged her children forward, using every ounce of strength to propel them. They stumbled into a small clearing, moonlight breaking through the thick canopy. Breathing hard, Clara turned to face the darkness, her body tense. "Mommy, what was that?" Jake demanded, his voice shaking as he clung to his sister. Just the wind," Clara lied, breathless and filled with uncertainty. Her heart pounded as she listened. Silence hung heavy in the air apart from the distant rustling. But they didn't have long before the stillness shattered. A figure emerged from the trees, cloaked in shadows, a smile that didn't quite meet its eyes stretching across its face. "Lost, are we?" it called, voice smooth like ice over fire. Clara instinctively shielded her children, backing against the rough bark of a nearby tree. What was this? Who or what was this person? "Leave us alone." Clara sputtered, trying to summon courage against the paralyzing fear surging within her. The figure stepped forward, revealing a weathered jacket and eyes that glinted with something rather unsettling. "You shouldn't be here," it hissed softly, a mocking lilt to its tone. "The woods, remember, they don't like visitors." Clara's world tilted. What did it mean? Memories? She squeezed her kids' hands, praying they wouldn't see the terror reflecting in her own. "Let us go, right now," she yelled, turning to run again. Suddenly, the air was heavy with that strange vibration, as if the woods themselves throbbed with life, ready to unleash their mystery upon them. Clara felt something brush against her leg, an icy tendril of fog that snaked out from behind the tree line. The figure stood watching, and as Clara fled with her children, she couldn't shake the feeling that not only were they being pursued, but they were also being drawn deeper into an unfolding horror that sought to engulf them in its embrace. What waited for them in the heart of this living nightmare as night stretched on? What would happen if they stumbled upon more than just shadows? As the trees closed in behind them, she couldn't shake the something lurking just out of sight, something that wanted to be found. Clara could feel the ground trembling beneath her, as if the earth was alive, impatient, demanding. The shadows pushed in from all sides, a suffocating blanket of darkness that threatened to swallow them whole. As they sprinted away, the whispering grew louder, a cacophony of forgotten voices spilling from the trees, warning her or mocking her, she couldn't tell which. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whimpered, her voice barely a breath in the thick silence. "Me too, sweetheart. Just hold on tighter," Clara urged, her grip tightening. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Branches lashed out like skeletal hands, snagging at their clothes, trying to hold them in place, to pull them back into the depths of the forest. All the while, that growl lingered behind them, a low vibration that growled not just in her ears but in her very bones, the promise of something lurking just out of sight waiting. Clara. Jake's voice pierced through the chaos. Look. He pointed ahead, behind the canopy where moonlight dared to touch the ground. Just barely visible between the trees was a dilapidated cabin, its windows shattered, its doors askew, a perfect nest for whatever hunted them. In there. The words tumbled out of her mouth before she could think better of it. Hurry. She surged forward, her children close on her heels, hearts pounding, breaths shallow as they approached the cabin. Each step echoed her desperation. Clara threw open the door, which creaked ominously on rusted hinges. They spilled inside, the stale air thick with dust and despair. Pillars of moonlight streamed through the shattered windows, illuminating splintered furniture and a faded photograph hanging on the wall. A family, smiling, stood in front of what was once a happy home. But it felt sinister now, the smiles turned to grimaces in Clara's mind. Mom, what if it finds us? Jake asked, his voice edged with panic. Shoo. We need to stay quiet, Clara whispered, her heart hammering in her chest as she pressed a finger to her lips. The shadows outside seemed to creep closer, thick as smoke. She could hear them, the whispers calling from the proverbial void, growing in intensity until they melded with the sound of another growl, deeper, more chilling than before. Suddenly, a shadow darted past the window, quick as lightning. Clara's stomach twisted as an icy grip of fear seized her heart. They needed to hide. She glanced around, seeking a sanctuary among the wreckage. There. A staircase leading to the upper floor, shrouded in darkness. Upstairs. Clara commanded, clutching Lily's hand firmly in one and holding Jake's wrist in the other as they rushed up, the stairs creaking under their weight. With each step, Clara felt a nasty tension in the air, a sensation of being watched that sent prickles crawling up her spine. At the top, she found a small room with a single window and a dusty bed. They piled into the corner, pressing their backs against the cold wall, breath held, waiting. Outside, the growls began to harmonize with the whispers, encircling the cabin like a predator scenting its prey. Mommy? Jake whispered, tears pooling in his eyes. What if it comes in? Just be quiet, Clara managed, her heart racing faster than she could control. Then, the floorboards creaked again beyond the front door. Something was in the cabin. Clara's pulse quickened. A shuffling sound, followed by a sharp intake of breath, shattered the stillness. Whatever was out there had entered. She turned her head to the children, but before she could comfort them, the door swung open. The silhouette stood there, framed in darkness, twisting in a way that was not human, limbs elongated and contorted as though bending against the laws of nature. Found you, it hissed, and its voice wasn't human at all. Clara's stomach dropped. She had to act fast. But where to go? The window. They could escape out the window, it was their only chance. What could she do? They were trapped in a nightmare, and the walls were closing in. Time was running out, but could she find a way to save her children before it was too late? As the creature advanced, its breath warm and rancid, Clara's mind raced. Could the woods still have secrets to reveal, even as the shadows whispered their grim lullabies? It was now or never. Would they leap into the unknown, or would they face the horror before them? Clara's heart raced as the figure lurked closer, its silhouette blending into the darkness of the room. She could see its features now, sharp teeth that gleamed like frost in the low light, and eyes that glowed an unnatural yellow, boring into her soul with a feverish hunger. Mommy! Lily cried, her tiny body trembling against Clara's side. Shush, she whispered, her voice a strangled plea. Stay quiet. Sweat gathered on Clara's brow, slicking her hair against her skin. There was no time to think, only to act. Jake, the window. She hissed, pointing frantically. Are we jumping? He asked, eyes wide. Now. She urged. In one fluid motion, Clara grabbed Lily with one arm and took Jake's hand with the other. They darted towards the window, the creature's elongated fingers brushing against her ankle, the chill cutting through her like ice. Adrenaline surged through her as she lifted the window, its rusty frame protesting with a screech that echoed in the suffocating silence. Help me. She grunted, shoving with everything she had. The window opened wide enough for them to escape, but it was small and jagged. She pushed Jake through with urgency. Go. Lily was next, and then Clara squeezed through, feeling the sharp edges scrape her sides like the claws of the thing hunting them. They tumbled into the cool night air, falling onto the damp earth with a thud. Run! Clara shouted, her voice breaking free from the tight grip of panic. They bolted, the moonlight lighting their path as they dashed away from the cabin. The growls behind them intensified, twisting into a symphony of fury, echoing through the woods. Clara's breath came in ragged gasps, but she pushed forward. There was no looking back, not now. Just as they reached the tree line, Clara glanced over her shoulder. The creature stood at the edge of the cabin, its form nearly invisible in the shadows, save for those glowing eyes, sinister and watching. A chill shot through her as she felt its gaze pierce her heart with dread. Mommy, Jake whimpered, where do we go? Just keep moving. Clara yelled, but fear began clawing at her throat. She wasn't sure where to take them. The woods felt endless, dark, and alive, every rustle and whisper around them a reminder of the horror trailing them. They stumbled deeper into the labyrinth of trees, gnarled roots snaring their feet, dragging them down into the darkness. Clara felt like they were slipping through the cracks of reality. Lily's grip loosened, and panic swelled within Clara as she reached for her daughter. Lily! Hold on tight. Suddenly, the whispers rose again, clearer now, weaving tales of despair, each syllable a thorn in Clara's mind. She could hear them encouraging the shadows, recounting every fear she ever had. Just when she thought it couldn't get any worse, a low growl surged behind them. The creature had followed, its breath a hot wind on the back of Clara's neck. Faster! Clara screamed, adrenaline fueling her. But the forest shifted around them. Trees seemed to twist and turn, the ground uneven, as if it conspired against them. Clara's breath hitched, they were losing control. Celestial light flickered through the leaves, teasing the way, but it felt like a mirage, a cruel trick. Then, a glimmer in the distance caught her eye, a vibrant flicker of orange. Hope surged, but Clara had to fight against the urge to believe. Could it be a way out? Or just another trap laid by the shadows? Mommy! Jake cried, what if it's a trap? Then we'll face it together. Clara shouted, her voice slicing through the fear. They pressed on, confusion and dread swirling around them like the shadows. But as they drew nearer to the flicker, the growls morphed into a manic laughter, echoing through the crackling branches. They were not alone, no, not by a long shot. With a jolt, Clara realized that what gleamed ahead wasn't safety at all. What if they stumbled into the heart of the darkness they were trying to escape? As they approached, a chill set in, freezing Clara's optimism. They were about to step into a deeper nightmare. What awaited them in the flickering light? Would they find salvation, or were they walking straight into a new terror? The flicker of orange danced like a cruel beacon, entangling Clara's heart in hope and dread. As they drew closer, the shadows morphed into distorted shapes, weaving around the trees as if they were alive, watching, waiting. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, urging her forward, but an ominous feeling began to nestle deep in her gut. What is that? Jake's voice trembled, tiny hands clinging to Clara's arm like a lifeline. I don't know, she whispered, her mind racing. Just stay close. The laughter grew louder, echoing off the gnarled bark and rustling leaves. It wasn't just the creature behind them anymore. Something else stirred in the depths of the forest. Clara could feel it, a presence as sinister as the one chasing them. They stumbled into a clearing, illuminated by the eerie glow of what appeared to be a small bonfire. Shadows danced wildly around it, casting grotesque shapes that stretched hungrily into the darkness. Clara's heart sank as she recognized the outlines of ragged figures. "Mommy!" Lily quaked, eyes wide with fear, lost in the chaotic flicker. Clara took a step back, the air thick with an ancient scent of burnt wood and buried secrets. The laughter twisted into a cacophony of taunts that echoed through the clearing. "Look what we have!" A voice sang out, gravelly and smooth, dripping with malice. "Lost little sheep wandering into the fold." A figure emerged from the shadows, standing tall and hunched, skin resembling cracked leather. It grinned, sharp teeth bared, eyes glimmering like molten gold. Behind it, more shapes formed, their faces obscured in shadow, each step they took leaving a whisper of disquiet in the air. Clara's legs felt heavy, as if the ground itself was intent on holding her there. "We need to go," she urged, trying to sound strong, but her voice wavered. "Where?" Jake's voice cracked. "Anywhere but here." The creature's laughter echoed, relentless. "You think it's that easy?" It mocked, stepping closer. "You're already ours, little lambs. The forest has claimed you." The flames flickered violently, casting a sickly orange glow onto their faces. Clara felt a chill creep up her spine as the sounds of the forest deepened, a whispering chorus rising around them, alive with secrets and malevolence. Each pulse of the fire seemed to sync with the growing tension in the air. "Mommy, please!" Lily sobbed, her grip tightening. In a moment of clarity, Clara realized they were surrounded. The figures began to move in unison, circling them with predatory grace. The fear bled into her bones, thick and suffocating. Clara took a deep breath, forcing herself to break free from the paralyzing grip that was pulling her down. Their only chance lay in the shadows of the woods again. "On my count, we run!" She shouted, trying to rally her children, heart pounding. 1, 2, 3. With that, Clara spun, dragging Lily and Jake with her into the ink of the trees. They sprinted back into the darkness, the laughter trailing behind them, chilling and relentless. But as they fled, Clara could hear the whispers rise among the branches, echoing her every fear. The laughter faded, but their voices grew louder, cold fingers gripping her thoughts. "Run, Clara," but it won't be enough. A sickening realization dawned as they stumbled blindly through the trees. They were not just fleeing from the creature, something much worse lurked in the depths of the woods, and it knew them. It was waiting for them to make a mistake, to get lost in the maze of despair it had created. And just then, as Clara glanced back, she saw more glowing eyes emerging from the darkness, mocking them, as if anticipating their next move. Each beating of her heart reminded her that they were caught in a nightmare, a web woven of terror. What awaited them in the darkness ahead? Would they find a way to escape, or was this just the beginning of something far more sinister? Branches clawed at their faces as Clara plunged deeper into the forest, dragging her children along, their breaths short and frantic. The temperature had dropped, turning the air into icy needles pricking at her skin. She stumbled over exposed roots, heart hammering, pulse quickening in the overwhelming rush of fear. "We can't stop. Keep moving," Clara urged, glancing back only to see the disturbing glow of eyes in the darkness behind them. Shadows shifted, and the laughter, that sickening, twisted laughter, flitted through the trees like a cruel wind. "Mommy, it's too dark," Jake cried, stumbling. "I can't see. Just trust me," she shouted, desperation stabbing through her. "We're going to be okay." But deep down, doubt slept like a growing beast. The woods felt alive, each rustle amplifying her terror, each snap of a twig echoing like a gunshot in the night. Clara could almost hear the forest breathing, hungry and patient. They pushed through the underbrush, the muffled sounds of their escape swallowed by the dark. Yet, the whispers, a chorus of despair, clamored around them. "Clara," their close. Lily's voice trembled, her small hand cold against Clara's palm. I know." She replied, but the truth was gnawing at her insides. The forest was not merely a place to take refuge. It was the prison. Suddenly, Clara skidded to a halt, feeling something wet and thick wrap around her ankle. She jerked her leg, trying to free herself, but the sensation tightened. "Help!" she screamed, panic surging. The ground beneath her was oily, something writhing. "Mommy!" Jake lunged forward in horror, but Clara pulled him back. "Don't! Stay right here." Darkness swirled around her, tendrils creeping from the earth, whispering chilling truths. "Stray not from the path." "What path?" she yelled, desperation leaking from her voice. "Help us!" The laughter resounded again, a cruel melody that echoed through the branches. "The forest leads only to despair." "No!" Clara shouted, fighting against the slimy roots anchoring her down. With every ounce of will, she tugged her foot free, sending a shiver coursing through her body. "Let us go. We need to move now." They turned and stumbled blindly once more, terror fueling their strides. The laughter faded, replaced with a sound that froze her in place, a low, rumbling growl, reverberating through the trees like distant thunder. "What was that?" Jake whispered, fear etched across his little face. Clara's stomach twisted. "I don't know, but we need to keep moving." They ran onward, the blind race turning frantic as if the darkness itself was chasing them. But then, out of the shadows, a figure stepped into their path. Tall and twisted, it stood like a grotesque sentinel over the woods, tall enough that its head brushed the treetops, its arms draping down like branches. "Welcome back, little lambs," it crooned, voice wrapping around them like smoke. The eyes shone brightly, reflecting the flicker of their fear. Each word dripped with sinister glee. Lily gasped, pulling close. "Mommy!" Clara's heart sank. They were trapped. She opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Her thoughts raced. Escape? Confrontation? Despair stole her hope. Then, as Clara turned to shield her kids, she saw an opening through the thicket. A sliver of light. "This way!" she yelled, desperation igniting her strength once more. They darted toward the light, the shadows writhing behind them, angry at the breach in their domain. Faster! Faster! But the ground shook now, rage coursing through the very roots beneath her feet. The laughter morphed into screeches, an orchestra of chaos echoing around them. Just as they reached the light, Clara turned. The figure loomed closer, malice radiating off it like heat from the flames. They were inches from escape, but could they make it? A final, guttural roar erupted from the darkness, shaking the trees. The light flickered uncertainly. With darkness threatening to swallow them whole, Clara propelled her children forward, knowing this might be their last chance. Would they escape the grasp of whatever hunted them, or was the forest destined to keep them forever? Clara's heart raced as the flickering light beckoned them, its warm glow a stark contrast to the freezing hell that surrounded them. With a surge of adrenaline, she pushed her children forward, their small feet stumbling madly over roots and stones. Shadows writhed behind them, clawing at air, as if the very darkness itself sought to consume them. "Mommy, wait!" Jake cried, but Clara wouldn't stop. Their only chance rested in that elusive light ahead. Each creeping shadow threatened to pull them back, but she refused to let that happen. It was there, the crack in the thicket, a escape route to uncharted safety. She squeezed the children's hands tighter, ignoring the pain that shot through her fingertips, and focused on the glimmer. "Run!" she shouted, the word echoing through the woods, sounding more like a prayer than a command. They reached the light just as the air split open with a howling roar, a sound so layered with anguish and fury that the trees leaned back, as if retreating from the monstrosity. Clara shot through the opening like a cannonball, throwing herself into what she hoped was freedom. But as they tumbled out, her joy froze solid. They landed in a clearing, but it wasn't a sanctuary. Dead trees surrounded them, their twisted forms like gnarled fingers pointing at the trio. An oppressive stillness enveloped the place, deadening even the echo of their breath. Clara could feel it right away, this was not safe, not by a long shot. The laughter now a low, guttural mirth slipped through the leaves above, mocking her attempt to escape. Lily trembled beside her, eyes wide with fright, tears shimmering like dark jewels. "Where are we?" the little girl whispered, horrified. "I don't know," Clara admitted, heart sinking. Staring into the clearing, she felt the chill creep up her spine. An altar stood in the center, made of rough stone and strung with bones, animal bones, human bones. They glistened in the dim light, remnants of those who had probably come before them. What is that?" Jake asked, voice quavering. Instead of answering, Clara scanned the periphery. The shadows danced, swirling toward them in a malicious ballet. "Not good, not good," she whispered, panic clawing at her throat. The figure from before haunted her thoughts, its presence looming like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. They stepped backward, but the shadows constricted, blocking every escape route. Clara pressed her body against the altar, hoping it would shield them from whatever malignancy stalked just beyond reach. A single sound began to rise over the din drumming. It was rhythmic, a thumping that resonated from deep in the earth, slow and deliberate. The laughter crescendoed, now intermingled with howls that shrieked through her mind. "What are they doing?" Lily whimpered, scrunching her eyes shut. "I don't know, but we have to be quiet," Clara whispered, even her own voice seeming to betray her with the tremor it carried. Suddenly, the ground beneath them quaked. Clara stumbled, reaching for the altar for balance. Her mind raced like a wild horse. They had to find an escape. They had to hide. But from what? The shadows began to take form, solidifying into figures, twisted reflections of humanity, eyes glowing with malevolent glee. "Join us," a voice slithered from the darkness, smooth and silken. "Stay a while," panic surged in Clara. "No. No, stay away." She turned to her children, every instinct screaming to protect them. The figures lunged forward, their mouths opening wide, revealing jagged teeth dripping with darkness. In that moment of sheer despair, Clara felt a violent surge of rage, the primal instinct to protect her children burning bright. "We're leaving!" she screamed, grabbing the little hands of her children. "Now!" But as they sprinted to the edge of the clearing, shadows rushed at them, clawing at their heels, attempting to drag them back. The figures behind them shrieked, their mouths working like a chorus of hissing serpents. "Go! Go! Go!" Clara shouted. They needed to reach another path, another hope. Would they find a way back to brightness, or were they destined to join the wailing chorus of the cursed? Clara's heart thundered against her chest, spurred by the fear that now traveled faster than light through her veins. There was nowhere left to run, but sometimes, the only way forward is through the very heart of darkness. The shadows clawed at Clara's heels as they sprinted toward a glint of hope. Each heartbeat pounded in her ears, drowning out the dreadful whispers behind. The figures were relentless, their elongated arms reaching, their laughter echoing in an eerie chorus of darkness. "Faster!" Clara gasped, fear wrapping around her throat like barbed wire. She could feel the cold breath of the night creeping closer, a bitter chill that promised despair. The altar loomed behind them, a cruel reminder of the evil they had stumbled upon. They dashed toward a thick patch of underbrush, the ferns and bushes offering a momentary semblance of concealment. Clara threw herself to the ground, pulling Jake and Lily down beside her. They huddled close, hearts racing, as Clara tried to catch her breath, hyperventilating as urgency clawed at her insides. "Mommy, I'm scared," Jake whispered, his voice barely a whimper. "Me too, baby, but we have to stay quiet," Clara replied, her voice shaking. The drumming had intensified, a deep throbbing now punctuating the air, shaking the ground beneath them like a warning bell. Lily's grip on Clara tightened, and Clara dared to peer from the safety of their cover. The clearing, now painted in an unsettling twilight glow, shimmered with an unnatural light. The figures from earlier had partially receded but still lurked like predators waiting to pounce on unsuspecting prey. Shadows squirmed and slithered through the underbrush, tendrils reaching out, probing the dark corners around them. What do they want? Jake's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, the horror settled on Clara, heavy and dark. She couldn't bear the uncertainty, the sheer terror of being at the mercy of these abominations. The answer eluded her, but one thing was clear, they would never leave willingly. Whatever malevolence fueled those shadows craved them. They want to keep us, she whispered, feeling each word stick to her tongue like ash. From her hiding spot, she felt a horrific tingling at the back of her neck. Another voice, older, rasping just above a whisper, slithered through the air. You will join us, sweet children. Forever. Chills cascaded down her spine. Clara knew they had to move, but fear solidified her limbs. Just as she drew breath to urge them on, the shadows recoiled and swirled violently near the altar. A simmering vortex of darkness formed, tendrils weaving tightly, pulsating with a hypnotic rhythm, as if beckoning. The ground shook once more, this time more violently. We need to go now. Clara yelled, panic stripping away her hesitation. She gestured for her children to follow, each step risky like a tightrope walk over a chasm. They scrambled away from their precious cover, adrenaline overtaking fear. Jake stumbled first, catching himself on a jagged root, which cut his palm. Clara quickly helped him up while maintaining a wary eye on the clearing. Shrieks erupted from the darkened figures, their forms twisting and shuddering like the bodies of the damned. Run! Clara bellowed and they took off again, crashing through bushes, the underbrush tearing at their clothes. Every step felt like an affront to the malevolence that hungered for their doom. But the arrival of an ethereal light cut sharply through the encroaching darkness, appearing unexpectedly ahead, shimmering like the moon caught in a pool of cool water. Mommy! Lily cried, pulling her toward it, ignoring the panic in Clara's heart. Clara reluctantly followed, compelled by the hope that this light offered, not knowing of the dark price it could demand. What if it's another trap? Clara thought fleetingly, but then the laughter grew louder, angrier, urging them closer. They reached the edge of the light, a threshold to another place, another world, but at what cost? Clara hesitated. Would crossing it seal their fate or lead to salvation? As the shadows hissed, "Join us," she turned to her children. "Whatever happens, we stick together," she declared, steeling her resolve. And then, with a deep breath, she reached for the light. Just as they crossed the threshold, Clara felt an icy grip clutch her ankle, a sinister force pulling her back. "No!" she screamed. The boundary flickered, pulsating like a heartbeat that could vanish at any moment. "Hold on." But as the light flickered again, something within it shimmered. A dark face emerged amidst the brightness, its hollow eyes locking onto Clara's. Could they escape the grasp of shadows, or were they now bound to linger forever in a light that hid dark truths? The echoing laughter twisted in the air, drowning out her thoughts. The light flickered once more. The light enveloped them, wrapping Clara and her children in a shimmering cocoon while the shadows howled in fury behind. For a heartbeat, Clara felt suspended, weightless, the chaos of the world fading into a hushed whisper. Then, as swiftly as it came, the sensation shattered. Clara stumbled forward, dragging Jake and Lily with her, landing hard on a patch of damp earth. The air was different, thicker, charged with an eerie humming that vibrated under her skin. "What just happened?" she gasped, looking around in confusion. The bright light had shifted, turning into an ethereal glow that bathed the surroundings in ghostly hues. Towering trees loomed above them, their gnarled branches twisting like skeletal fingers against a darkened sky. To her left, a dense fog slithered over the ground, swirling around roots and stones. "We're safe here, right, Mommy?" Jake's voice trembled, but the hope was still there, thin as a thread. Clara's heart raced. "I don't know, honey. We need to be careful." She needed to focus. The shadows were still out there, and the overwhelming chill settled deeper in her bones. "Look!" Lily pointed into the thick mist. At first glance, it appeared like a wall of swirling vapor, but Clara squinted and saw motion within it, shapes shifting and twisting, more shadowy figures just beyond reach. Her breath caught in her throat. "Stay close," Clara instructed, moving instinctively to shield them. She took a few cautious steps forward, piercing the fog with her gaze. Then she felt a gnawing sensation, a whisper that echoed just below the sound of the rustling leaves. "Come play." It was seductive, dripping with malice, a song of the vanished. The children pressed against her, their faces pale against the backdrop of swirling gray. "Mommy," Jake whimpered, his eyes darting, searching for reassurance in his mother's. Before she could respond, a piercing scream echoed from deep within the fog. It echoed in her bones, a sound that was both human and inhuman, a cacophony of anguish that sent ice coursing through her veins. Clara's instincts screamed for them to turn back, to run, but the morbid curiosity rooted her in place. "Don't listen to it," she shouted, desperately trying to block out the haunting cries. But the moment they crossed into this new world, the boundary between sanity and madness blurred. The shadows outside were replaced by haunting whispers inside. "Why are we here, Mommy?" Lily's voice was so small, barely above a whisper. "I don't know, sweetheart," Clara replied, forcing strength into her tone. "Stay with me." She pressed forward, her heart thumping a frenetic rhythm, urging her to find clarity in this chaos. Suddenly, the mist parted, revealing a clearing. A silent altar stood in the center, similar to the one they fled from, but this one glowed faintly, an inviting warmth contrasting the chilling atmosphere around it. The air tasted metallic, like dried blood. But as they stepped into the clearing, a rush of movement caught Clara's eye. Shadows converged at the borders of the mist, clawing their way toward them with renewed determination, driven by a malicious hunger. She felt the weight of their intent, the shadows eager to reclaim what they thought was theirs. "Run! We can't stay here." Clara whipped around, sensing the encroaching doom. Jake grabbed her hand while Lily clutched at Clara's shirt, tears streaming down her cheeks. But just as they turned to escape, the altar pulsed with light, a single beam striking the ground before them with a resonant thud. Clara hesitated, her heart racing with confusion. Was it sanctuary or another trap? "Mommy!" The light. For the briefest moment, nothing else mattered. Hope flickered once more, but the laughter behind them roared, its sound wrapping around her like a noose. Clara realized they had to make a decision: stay and face the shadows or leap into the unknown behind the altar. As she turned her gaze back to the approaching figures, she heard one word cutting through the clamor. "Join now." She bolted toward the light, dragging her children with her, as echoes of torment followed. Would they escape, or would the darkness finally claim them? With the shadows breathing down their necks, Clara took a leap of faith. The moment they plunged into the light, all sound faded to nothing, leaving only a suffocating silence. Had they crossed to safety or into a new nightmare? The answer loomed just beyond the light's grasp, waiting to be uncovered. The moment Clara and her children breached the luminous veil, time seemed to stretch and bend, the world blurring around them. Gasping, they landed on soft grass, a strange warmth wrapping around their bodies like a protective shroud. They lay panting, hearts racing, as they slowly pushed themselves up, glancing around in a newfound world that felt surreal. The air here was light, almost electric, and the trees arched gracefully overhead, their leaves shimmering in hues of silver and gold. It looked like a lush paradise, a stark contrast to the ominous wilderness they had just escaped. Only footsteps away, Clara noticed what appeared to be a tranquil brook, its water sparkling. "Is this real?" she breathed, disbelief in her tone. "Mommy, are we safe?" Jake's wide eyes flickered between wonder and fear. "I think." Clara hesitated, "I think we might be." She stood slowly, brushing the grass from her knees. The tension in her body felt foreign here, as if the weight of the shadows had finally been lifted. With cautious optimism, they took a few tentative steps, but as they moved deeper into the sun-drenched glade, Clara felt a pull, a whisper in the wind, airy but insistent. The trees, beings of ancient wisdom, seemed to hum softly, their melodies flowing through her veins. "We should cross the stream," she said, feeling a strange allure guiding her. "Maybe there is something across then," as they neared the water, a shadow flickered at the very edge of the clearing, a chilling reminder of the darkness they had fled. Clara's chest tightened. Shadows emerged from the edge of the grove, undulating toward them like dark waves, insatiable and hungry. They hovered like a fog, laced with malice, the laughing chorus unmistakable. No! Clara yelled, grabbing her children tightly, dread flooding her body. We have to hurry. The brook's surface shimmered invitingly, calling to her instincts. Jump! She urged. Without second thoughts, they leapt over the branch that spanned the yielding stream, splashing down into the soft earth on the other side. As they landed, Clara felt a momentary swell of hope, a sanctuary away from the touch of their pursuers. But a quick glance behind revealed the shadows gathering ominously at the stream's edge, hissing in frustration, probing the boundary with jerky movements. Clara's heart sank, realizing they might not be free yet. We need to keep moving. There has to be a way out. She yelled, eyes darting as panic whispered through her mind. They ran through the glade, dodging trees and erupting flora, hope rising with each stride. Clara urged her children on until they stumbled upon a hidden path that wound deeper into lush undergrowth, a path that felt alive, almost breathing. Do you see that light ahead? Lily gasped, pointing toward a radiant glow flickering in the distance, casting golden shadows on the leaves. It was softer than the blaze of day and beckoned as if promising refuge. Let us go. Clara gripped their hands tighter, moving as swiftly as their feet would allow. Every step took them further away from the mocking laughter of the shadows and closer to sanctuary, or so she hoped. As they approached, the light grew, morphing into ethereal shapes. Clara halted, breath hitching once more. What is this? The forest around them sang with a melody that resonated deep within her, a healing hymn that lured them closer. A figure emerged from the glow, radiant and warm, a guardian spirit. Its eyes glimmered with kindness, and Clara felt a rush of recognition flood back. This presence was strong, a protector of the land. You have crossed a threshold, the figure said, voice echoing like soothing wind. Your courage brought you here. Are we really safe? Clara whispered, doubt creeping back into her heart. The figure nodded, gesturing toward the crowd of shadowy figures, sneering outside the glowing boundary. Those dark choices haunt you, but they cannot touch you here. You have shown the strength of spirit deserving of freedom. Clara felt a tear slip down her cheek, releasing the tension that had held her captive for so long. Thank you, she breathed, relief flooding her, washing away the residue of fear. Yet, the path you must take ahead remains uncertain, the figure warned gently. Carry your love with you, and face the truth that lies within. The woods shivered with meaning, rustling their leaves as if urging her forward. We will, Clara promised, reaching out to her kids. Together. And with that, they stepped further into the light, a newfound resolve flooding Clara's heart. They could feel the warmth wrapping around them, filling the bitter void left by the shadows. As they walked forth, hand in hand, a sense of belonging washed over her. Once more Clara looked back at the shadows, their angry faces fading into the distance. Now, ahead lay not just an escape, but a promise of a new beginning, bright and full. Her heart, no longer burdened, soared with the music of the forest. As the horizon brightened, Clara whispered a prayer of gratitude. They were free. Let us go home, she said softly, and with love lighting their way, they marched forward into their new life, knowing they had defeated the haunting darkness together. Now, the story is yours. If you felt the thrill, the fear, the victory alongside Clara, you need to subscribe now for more exclusive tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button to help others discover these gripping stories. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this conclusion. Let us grow this community together.